There's something different about this team for the new season, and if you've been paying attention, you've probably noticed that the energy within the team is starting to shift again. After everything that went wrong last year, there's a growing belief that this defense is finally regaining the attitude, grit, and explosiveness that made fans fall in love with 49ers football. And the most incredible thing? Most people outside of San Francisco still have no idea what might happen. But first, click the like button and subscribe to stay up to date on every detail of this season. Let's go! Something changed inside the San Francisco 49ers building after the arrival of Osa Odigizua, and if Niner fans pay close attention to what is happening behind the scenes, they'll realize this move may end up becoming one of the smartest decisions this franchise has made in years. Because this is not just about adding another defensive lineman. This is about restoring an identity that completely disappeared from San Francisco's defense last season. After the 2025 season ended in disappointment, one statistic embarrassed the entire organization. The 49ers finished dead last in the NFL in sacks, 32nd. For a franchise that built its reputation on terrorizing quarterbacks, that number hit like a punch to the stomach. Even worse, the defensive tackle room combined for only 4 sacks all season long. Injuries hurt the roster, yes, but there was also a serious lack of explosiveness in the middle of the defensive line. That is exactly why the front office targeted Osa Odigizua. And now, after hearing him speak publicly for the first time since joining San Francisco, it's becoming very clear that the 49ers didn't just acquire production. They may have acquired a player entering the absolute prime of his career with a chip on his shoulder bigger than most people realize. What makes this even more fascinating is the timing. The NFL draft is over. Free agency is basically finished. The schedule has already been released. Most fan bases around the league are simply hoping their new additions fit in. But inside the 49ers organization, there's growing belief that Osa could become the missing piece that transforms this defense back into one of the most feared units in football. And when you actually look at the numbers, it becomes impossible to ignore. In 2025, Odigizua recorded 52 pressures, ranking 6th among 134 interior defensive linemen across the NFL. He added 20 quarterback hits, which ranked 2nd among defensive tackles. He also posted 29 hurries despite playing on one of the league's weakest defensive units. Now, here's where things become scary for the rest of the NFC. Those weren't one-year fluke numbers. Back in 2024, he generated 60 pressures, ranking 3rd among all interior defensive linemen in football. He also logged 14 quarterback hits and 39 hurries. Over the last 2 seasons combined, Osa has produced well over 100 pressures from the defensive tackle position. Think about that for a second. Niner fans, San Francisco has not had an interior pass rusher with this level of consistent disruption since DeForest Buckner. That comparison is starting to appear more and more around league circles, and honestly, it's not hard to understand why. The explosiveness off the snap, the ability to collapse the pocket, the constant quarterback pressure. This is exactly the kind of player the 49ers thought they were getting when they signed Javon Hargrave years ago. But unlike Hargrave at that stage of his career, Odigizua is still in his mid-20s. That detail matters a lot, because Osa himself believes he hasn't even come close to reaching his ceiling yet. During his appearance with former 49ers star Richard Sherman, Odigizua revealed something that should have every single fan excited. He openly admitted that he feels like the first 5 years of his NFL career only scratched the surface of the player he can become. That statement says everything about his mentality. This is not a player arriving in San Francisco comfortable with what he's already accomplished. This is somebody who genuinely believes another level is still waiting to be unlocked. And sometimes, those are the most dangerous players in the NFL. The stars who are productive already, but still feel overlooked. Osa said his biggest goal is making a deep playoff run and finally winning a Super Bowl ring. He specifically mentioned how hopeful he feels joining an organization that has reached the Super Bowl twice in the last 6 years. And there's another important layer to this story that fans shouldn't ignore. The 49ers' defensive line suddenly has balance again. You look at players like Alfred Collins and C.J. West, and they profile primarily as run-stopping defensive tackles. Valuable players, absolutely. But Osa brings something completely different. Interior explosion as a pass rusher. Then you add rookie Grayson Halton into the rotation, another player known for his burst off the line of scrimmage, and suddenly this front starts looking deeper, faster, and far more unpredictable. And if Nick Bosa returns healthy and dominant again, that changes everything. Because the fastest way to destroy opposing offenses is pressure up the middle combined with elite edge rushing. Quarterbacks hate interior pressure more than anything in football. When they can't step up in the pocket, the entire offense collapses. But maybe the most intriguing part of all this is what Osa revealed about new defensive coordinator Raheem Morris. According to Odigizua, Morris is already allowing him to play freer, more aggressively, and without what he described as handcuffs. That quote should grab everybody's attention. Because if Osa already produced elite pressure numbers in previous systems, what happens if Raheem Morris unlocks an even more aggressive version of him? That's the question quietly building inside the 49ers organization right now. And remember, Osa has missed only one game in 5 NFL seasons. Durability matters, especially for a team that got crushed by injuries last year. There's a very real possibility that fans are underestimating just how impactful this acquisition could become once the season starts. And honestly, the comments Osa made about the Dallas Cowboys are probably going to make 49ers fans love him even more. Do you believe Osa Odigizua is about to have the breakout season of his career in San Francisco? And how many sacks do you think he finishes with in 2026? What makes this entire situation even more dangerous for the rest of the league is that the 49ers may finally be building the exact defensive identity they lost over the last couple of years. And it's happening quietly, while most national media outlets are focused somewhere else. Because when you really listen carefully to everything Osa Odigizua said, this doesn't sound like a player simply happy to be in San Francisco. This sounds like somebody arriving with unfinished business. And there's one specific quote that should send chills through the NFC. "I haven't scratched the surface of the player that I am." That sentence alone tells you exactly where his mindset is entering 2026. The scary part? The production is already there. Most players who say things like that are still trying to prove they belong in the NFL. Osa is already one of the most disruptive interior defenders in football statistically. He already ranks near the top of the league in pressures and quarterback hits. So if he truly believes another level exists in his game, the 49ers may have landed a player ready to explode nationally this season. And honestly, this might be the perfect environment for him. Think about the attention offenses already have to give to Nick Bosa. Offensive coordinators build entire game plans around slowing Bosa down. Double teams, chips from tight ends, running backs staying in protection. All of that creates opportunities inside for a player like Osa Odigizua to completely wreck pockets from the middle. That combination is what made San Francisco's defense terrifying during its peak years. When the 49ers were dominating opponents deep into playoff runs, it wasn't just edge pressure, it was interior collapse. Quarterbacks had nowhere to escape, and over the last couple of seasons, that piece disappeared. Now it's back, and Raheem Morris might be the coach capable of maximizing all of it. One of the most overlooked details from this entire discussion is how adaptable Morris has been throughout his coaching career. Unlike some coordinators who refuse to evolve schematically, Morris has shown he can succeed with different systems and different personnel styles. That flexibility matters because the 49ers' defensive line is changing. You still have power players, you still have bigger-bodied linemen. But there's now a growing emphasis on speed, explosiveness, and versatility. The draft selections reflect that philosophy, too. The mention of rookie Romello Height became very interesting during the discussion because Morris has a history of developing lighter edge rushers into productive weapons. That's not random. When Morris coached in Atlanta, he targeted athletic pass rushers with speed and burst. And now San Francisco appears to be following a similar blueprint. The idea is simple. Overwhelm offensive lines with waves of athleticism instead of relying purely on size. And if that philosophy works, this defense suddenly becomes much faster than people expect. Now add another important factor nobody should overlook: motivation. Osa isn't arriving from some losing culture where expectations are low. He came from the Dallas Cowboys, one of the most scrutinized organizations in football, and now he's stepping directly into one of the league's fiercest rivalries. And the way he talked about Dallas told you everything. He admitted that when he played for the Cowboys, the 49ers were the team he targeted emotionally. The rivalry mattered deeply to him. He described it almost like putting an opponent's picture on a dartboard and throwing knives at it mentally every week. But now, he says, he's simply switched sides. The energy remains exactly the same. That is exactly the kind of mentality San Francisco fans love. Because 49ers supporters don't just want talented players. They want players who understand what wearing this uniform means. They want emotion, edge, fire, rivalry, intensity. And Osa clearly gets it already. There's also another subtle but massive advantage to this move that fans are beginning to appreciate more and more: value. San Francisco didn't mortgage its future for this acquisition. The organization managed the draft strategically, moving back multiple times and recovering valuable capital while still bringing in a proven impact player. That's huge for roster construction moving forward, especially because the NFC is becoming increasingly competitive. Teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, Detroit Lions, and Green Bay Packers are continuing to improve. If the 49ers want to return to the Super Bowl, they need defensive game changers capable of deciding playoff games in critical moments. That's exactly why this season feels so important for Osa Odighizuwa. This isn't just another year for him. This could become the year he transforms from very good player into nationally recognized star. And honestly, 6 to 7 sacks might only be the beginning if this system truly unleashes him the way he believes it will. Because sacks only tell part of the story. The real value comes from pressures, collapsed pockets, forced mistakes, hurried throws, and destroying offensive timing before plays can even develop. That's the hidden impact elite interior defenders create every single week. And if Osa delivers that consistently while Bosa returns healthy, the entire identity of the 49ers defense changes overnight. Suddenly, opposing quarterbacks won't just fear the edge rush again. They'll fear the middle too. And historically, that's when San Francisco football becomes terrifying. Now I want to hear from the faithful. Do you think Osa Odighizuwa is about to become the most important addition to the 49ers defense this season? And could this defensive line return to elite status in 2026? Drop your prediction below, smash that like button, and subscribe for more exclusive 49ers coverage all season long. Let's go!